What's the point of trying if trying doesn't result in economic agency, and I'm going to be threatened anyway? You're being disruptive. You can do this somewhere else. If this is the way that I can communicate with my peers, how are your peers doing? See, I feel like you don't actually care, and you just want me to be quiet. Yeah, I do want you to be quiet. My basic psychological needs aren't being met. Whose fault is that? Honestly, it feels like you just gave up on trying. I want you to leave.
If you've attended college, make a list of your favorite courses. Separately, make a list of the courses that helped you succeed. Make a list of the courses that helped you succeed in your career. Consider the extracurriculars and how your peers helped you succeed.
I thought the reason we went to college was to specialize in something that we would learn continuously throughout our adulthood. And I had conversations with the people who structured the education. Like, I actually had conversations with professors and administrators about why things were structured the ways that they were. And the context wasn't like it was a toy project, it was something that I was seriously pursuing. So the professors and administrators who were responding to the wonder that I had were responding to some pretty specific goals. And this is while I was doing research in the adult learning lab. We were studying the impacts of media consumption on brain development into adulthood, like into later adulthood. So when I studied the impact of the media that we consume on brain development throughout our adulthood, I anticipated that being relevant to more than just the abstract concept of this is what happens when people aren't engaging in materials that challenge them consistently. I don't intend to be judgmental, but spending hours watching TV doesn't challenge us. And there are ways to analyze the Bible as if it's literature, which leads to different relationships. And I understand that this is probably more relevant to me because I had friends who had different books growing up. So to me, it made a lot of sense to wonder why my peers would develop with these media, and we were able to discuss them and describe how we were challenged by the topics. Then in 2020, when there were shutdowns and I needed to adjust to that environment, honestly, it just feels like the amount of investment that I put into aging can't be returned to me if the context is that the responsibility evaporated. Because to me, the responsibility that I have for people who are older than me, if it isn't being internalized, where does that go? What is the concept of social security? I don't understand how I could have conversations with administrators and faculty who described what their goals were and gave me specific guidance on how these systems can be addressed. And these were professors and administrators who were older than me and had been in that environment for decades. I don't understand which, which things I'm supposed to ignore about that. Specifically, which things am I supposed to ignore? I probably won't be able to attend Christmas because doing that would deplete my energy for days, and I might lose services that make it possible for me to change my circumstance. Well, if that's your decision, then you're going to have to live with it. This framing of things makes it seem like responding to what I can observe about the world is the wrong thing to do, But being an adult means I need to respond mindfully to what I can understand about the world. If you're complaining about a lack of support, something about things like this being less preferable than doing what you're doing. Yeah, I mean, this video is for a different audience, so describing the specifics of the impact feels less relevant than describing the impact. I mean, describing the specifics of, like, what keeps on happening feels less relevant than describing the impact. It's confusing because going through more school would have meant navigating more research. But if the context is that research isn't valued, that's the thing that I need to address. When there are problems that are identified by millions of people, at least some of those systems are going to impact the people who interact with millions of people, or some portion of millions of people. Like, these issues that I'm responding to aren't only affecting me, and you believe they don't impact you only because you haven't been paying attention to specifically what has been going on. You're not going to get anywhere when you sound angry like that. This conversation doesn't feel productive, and I'm not sure how to have hope that future conversations are going to be productive. I can describe self-determination theory, which is decades old, and we can wonder, why hasn't a theory replaced it? And why do people extend new domains of research by building on the foundations? The context is that my basic psychological needs aren't being met, and I don't intend to blame anyone, but only a few people created me. And I'm describing that without changing that, the thing that I can do is put effort towards trying to meet my basic psychological needs. And I won't be able to do that if I don't have energy to do that. Whose fault is it that you don't have energy? This frame is not something that I can make productive, so I'm going to focus on communicating with a different audience. If I run out of coffee, then I won't have coffee, which is okay. And I appreciate coffee, so I drink it. If you're bothered by the price of coffee, you don't need to buy it. Because if there isn't coffee, then I'll just wait for the opportunities I have to purchase it. I can't promote a TikTok with coffee. I can't subscribe to X Premium with coffee. I can't pay my phone bill with coffee. I can't go to the hobby store with coffee. When you do things that seem supportive and then later they come up as something that I'm doing wrong, or it seems like a demonstration that I'm over consuming, it feels like I'm being trapped. It feels like I'm being set up to fail because what are the options? Going through software engineering and specifically studying computer science, we needed to have very tangible discussions about optimizing resource consumption. The only way nanofabrication works in the context of photonic systems is by building on data and optimizing the research. Why do you do things that you intend to use as leverage when you threaten to remove them or make it seem like I'm over consuming? My goals I've described them. I've also described the impact. If the people that I consistently work with aren't real, why would the jobs that hired me remotely, why why is that significant? Because if the tasks from those jobs are the same as the tasks that I'm doing today, it feels strange that I can't even use self-determination theory to describe that this has been studied. I'm not sure why it's not relatable that autonomy, competence, and relatedness would be valuable to me. I'm not sure what hope I should have for the future if investing in when I say we aren't the only family, and then you say I'm not the only person, and then I say that autonomy would help me achieve my goals, I'm confused who I should care about. If the example that I have for why people would have kids is that they have 18 years of experiencing the joy of having kids, and then the child becomes the responsibility of the government, I'm not sure which structures I'm contributing to. Because I've had conversations with people who have felt abandoned, and I continuously have conversations with people who are trying to change the system. So, from my perspective, I'm very acutely aware that I'm not the only person, and trying to dignify my personhood requires economic agency. Because even if money didn't exist, we would still have an economy. Presumably, money exists so we can stabilize dimensions of the economy that otherwise would become abstract and then come down to whoever has, well, it is coming down to the US government having a monopoly on violence. And we can feel about that however we do. Something that could change is moving towards a more diplomatic system. But actually implementing a diplomatic system would require being able to be frank about which systems we are supporting. In a separate thread, the advice that I have for parents isn't directed at any specific parent. And the advice that I have for children of parents is to copy me. But I also have a pretty distinct brand, so when I say to copy me, I hope people don't do it verbatim. In electrical engineering, there are a lot of I'm tired of this. The reason that I do this work is because there are people who are trying to improve the system, and I need to continuously have conversations with these people. Going live while we're all out of energy sometimes means that one of us goes live for 5 minutes and then runs out of energy. And if someone doesn't join almost immediately, then that goes however it does, except for the people who have stamina to stream, regardless of the context. I understand there are people who understand more about why it is difficult to navigate a city that requires a car. And it's strange because growing up, the context of my development was that I was created on purpose. So it's confusing to me that there is a barrier of care. And having conversations about it doesn't seem to result in any change in material circumstances. If stability is going to be threatened anyway, I can make videos where I touch on how individuals respond to circumstances of systems, and over time, people can have an idea about what this means. I can also say these aren't abstract people, they are specific people, and the context of my upbringing was that we care for people who aren't in the same bubble as us. I thought that was the point of missions trips, but now that I'm older, if we don't care about people who haven't had the same privileges as us, was that just a demonstration of colonialism? Then I wonder about the professions that I can learn from, and I wonder if they encourage individualism. If our economy, regardless of whether money exists, is built on interdependence, and that's the reason we have the discussions that we do about supply chains, I don't exist in a vacuum, and to participate in an economy, I would need economic agency. In a city that requires vehicles to have that kind of autonomy, having a vehicle is the goal. Or just being able to consistently reach the audience who has expressed that they receive what I do. When I'm interrupted, when I have been interrupted, I missed windows of opportunity because that's how things work. So now I'm responding to different opportunities, but if the concept of opportunity is viewed the same as the concept of abstract independence in a vacuum, we aren't going to make sense. Policy changes are causing teachers, nurses, and social workers to quit en masse. How's your job search going? Are you going to respond to what I said? I don't want to. You need to get a job. What does it mean for teachers, social workers, and nurses to be quitting? I don't care because it doesn't impact me. What will happen if you need health care? I pay a lot of money for insurance. How confident are you in your health literacy? Confident enough to know you need a job. Sodium is an element and chlorine is an element, and there are ways they can be combined that are actually pretty necessary for our world. You say a lot of facts like that. You can apply the things that I say to your life. I don't like feeling lectured. I can put them somewhere where you can visit them whenever you want to. I'm probably not going to engage. Why not? I don't want to. What if I come across information that's relevant for all of us? If it were relevant for all of us, it would be in the channels that I have specifically curated. What happens if you've curated your channels and you're not receiving information that's relevant for long-term development? You do that. Do what? The thing you just said, I do. I wasn't saying you do it. I was wondering if you've considered the possibility that that could happen. It isn't happening. How do you know? I don't care. Your videos would get more views if you changed your location and lighting more often. I know. Why don't you? Well, what am I supposed to say? I mean, if you want more views, you should add more variety to your content. Send me money so I can do that. I'm sorry, I can't. I'll leave you to it. AI is a bubble. Which models and which modalities? I mean, like AI. All these tech billionaires have been pouring all their money into AI, but it's a bubble. There are different people who have been funding these models. It isn't all just coming from billionaires. Also, the people who produce these models have been incentivized to respond to criticisms for the past 2 years. Actually, for the past 3 years. I forgot that it was 2022 that ChatGPT came out. I mean, generative AI is a bubble. Have you used it? I don't like it. What do people like about it? They like that it makes them lazy. That's not true. some sort of statement about the people who use AI being lazier than the people who are choosing not to. I feel like we can update our model of the world. Speak for yourself. I feel confused when you say that I'm doing things my way, and the thing that I believe I'm doing is responding to how others respond to the research that I'm considering. I'm thankful to have had the opportunity to be in environments that have given me the value of considering research and making sure the experiments are designed so they can be reasonable. I wouldn't have come up with the idea to consider research and design experiments like researchers do. I actually had to learn in college how to design experiments and why we analyze research data the ways that we do. There have been flawed studies, and we talked about the reasons why some studies are flawed or why some conclusions can't be generalized. One of the major points of the one of the major points of the educational psychology research that I participated in was about how difficult it is for humans to generalize learning. So, with that, I've been intentionally trying to expand my horizons and ground my understanding with what can be observed by people who study this professionally. When the people who study this professionally, and this being research in a metacognitive frame, when these researchers are losing funding, I wonder which lesson you want me to learn. Because individual data points collected by individual researchers are intended to be aggregated. The reason that we have meta-analyses is because we intend to form consensus with as much data as possible. It is worth correcting that. It isn't having as much data as possible, it's having the highest quality data set. There, we need to consider sample sizes and statistical analysis methods. I didn't invent statistics. Choosing to learn more about how data is collected and how data can be analyzed isn't something that I'm doing just for fun. There are frames that I could theoretically enter that would be engaging towards a sense that I could call fun. And I would need funding to enter those environments. And those environments would need to exist. And currently, they are being defunded. If you'd like to comment on a specific strategy error, please make a video about it. You can ask Gemini to summarize a video, then I can ask my instance of ChatGPT to integrate which points you've specifically responded to. I believe I can make videos like this and maintain a relatively consistent tone for hours. When I feel cornered, I feel like we can't have productive conversations. When I leave the room open for you to explore the stuff that I've made on your own terms, you just don't. Then I wonder, how can I model a reason to respect elders if the default emotion that I feel is that my autonomy, competence, and relatedness is attacked? I don't know. You're creative. You're smart. You can figure it out.